Hello one and all, this is Soulful Lordy, James Bullock, once again with another video game first impressions. This time around, Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Now, I must preface this by saying that I will never beat this game. Quite possibly ever, no matter how long I have it. And not necessarily because it's a bad game, or it's a game that's not fun. It's mostly because of me. But before I explain why I am limiting myself, why I will never complete Shadows Die Twice, Sekiro is a third-person action-adventure game set in the 17th century reimagined Japan, where you take the control of a shinobi simply named Wolf, who has lost his memory and eventually, very early in the game, loses his left arm, which gives you the ability to have a prosthetic that, as you progress through the game, find upgrades that you can utilize, like a flamethrower or shuriken, that are definitely limited not in execution per se, but in number, because through these little items that you collect or buy called spirit tomes, you are able to utilize your secondary weaponry. Your main weapon is simply your sword. Wolf is equipped with a single sword that the character must use to block, parry, guard. That will be the defining action of the player. By learning how to parry, how to block, how to time everything properly, will allow Wolf to become a killing machine against a variety of opponents, be it fellow swordsmen or flame-wielding archers, or of course the bosses that are incredibly tough, armored, and incredibly fast as well. This game is based around patience and learning the movements and actions and patterns of your opponents. Once you get the hang of their actions, their patterns, their styles, you're able to counter quickly and learn how to survive. One of the biggest things that to me is a blessing when it comes to these games that's added to Sekiro is this revive meter that slowly refills once you use it. But if you resurrect yourself in the middle of a fight, you're pretty much given a second chance with half of the health. Unfortunately, sometimes it may not pay off. In this game, as with a lot of the Souls games in the past, it is incredibly difficult. And Wolf doesn't need that much to die. You can take 3 to 4 good hits on a full health bar, depending on who you're fighting against. It does not take that much to put Wolf down. So you have to be aware, you have to be precise, and you have to be patient. And honestly, that is probably the biggest reason why I will never finish this game. The patience behind it, the willing to just hit once, step back, hit again, step back, parry, block, hit again. Those people that are patient enough to just take their time and not try to rush through, even against the lower enemies, the low tier enemies, like a Bat Out of Hell, they will definitely succeed in this game more than someone like yours truly, who has that kind of God of War mentality where I see an opening and I just want to attack, without the thought of, oh my goodness, the enemy is going to just start another combo string and I'll be prone to an attack. Of course you can dodge, you can jump out of the way, but usually the best idea is to parry and block. And that really ties into the overall system in terms of the stance and the health, which is very interesting because the posture of your enemy and yourself, in this case Wolf, is dictated by how well you block and you parry. If you hit an enemy enough times while they're blocking, it breaks their posture and leaves them susceptible to a death blow. If you hit them enough times with them not blocking, of course, that will drain their health and leave them open to a death blow. Wolf can also pull off stealth attacks by sneaking up behind an enemy or jumping off of a ledge from a roof and performing a stealth kill. And this actually works on some of the mini bosses and bosses as well. In terms of the bosses, they have, in the mini bosses too, have more health, of course, than the regular enemies, so you will have to take your time and will have to be patient and Expect some long-winded encounters between yourself and these bosses that can be incredibly rewarding and fulfilling when you do overcome the bosses and mini bosses in this game. And honestly, that's where Sekiro kind of falls apart for me because of the nature of death. The penalizations that are associated with death are pretty grandiose. Of course, you lose half of your XP that you gain that you will be able to build up as you kill more enemies to buy skill points and abilities. You also lose half of the money that you own if you do not have a small or large purse on you. Those are actually not that big of a deal for me. My biggest issue with dying in this game is the fact that when you die, whatever you utilize before that death is gone. Even though it takes you back to the last place that you rested, it doesn't matter. It's not like an old school RPG where if you lose wherever you last saved, that's where you start at. And honestly, I would have been happier with that kind of implementation like that, because to me, you cannot necessarily learn from your mistakes because of some of the items that you would have benefited from during a fight, say against a boss, that are no longer with you. Some of the other gameplay problems that I have come from a technical aspect. The camera is somewhat unyieldly, especially when associated with the lock-on target. Another big issue from a technical aspect for me is the lock-on system, where you have to manually target an enemy and the game will decide when it feels like you should unlock or when it wants to unlock itself. So in the middle of a heated battle when you're trying to keep a lock on a target and the game decides, no, we're not going to keep it on that target, it can become detrimental because Wolf, for some reason, if he's not targeting an enemy hard, he will just flail. He will miss obvious swings when he really shouldn't. Overall, as I said before, this is just not a game for me. I think it's a great game. It feels good. It plays good. There are definitely some issues, both technically and personally, for yours truly. But it's not a bad game. It's just not for me. But if you have played the old From Software games and you have an open mind, that you don't come into this playing like it's Bloodborne or Dark Souls, you will probably enjoy this a lot. If you haven't played it, and that's probably the best way to play this, is not coming in with a preconceived notion and having played the previous From Software games and coming in with an open mind and ready to learn the systems and being patient and having the time and the energy to accept the faults when it comes to death and overcome, you will more than likely thoroughly enjoy this game. So there you have it. This has been Soulful Lordy, James Bullock, once again with another video game first impressions. Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to load up my save one more time just to see if I can finally overcome this terrible person that keeps stabbing me over and over again with the spear, and just make this terrible individual say, "Oh Lordy."